You have seen this image your entire life, on posters, on phone cases, on coffee mugs, on the ceiling of the most visited room in the world. And because you have seen it everywhere, you have stopped seeing it at all. There is a human brain hidden inside this painting. There is a message about God that the church never asked for. There is a gap between two fingers that has never actually been closed, and Michelangelo did that on purpose. This is the creation of Adam, 1511, and nothing about it is what you think. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel is about what artists actually hid inside their work. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's look at this painting like it's the first time, because for most people, it is. Start with the most famous detail in the history of Western art. The gap. God's finger and Adam's finger, almost touching. Almost. There is a deliberate space between them, a breath of painted air that Michelangelo chose not to close. Every other painter of this era would have closed it. Contact means connection. Contact means the moment of creation. But Michelangelo leaves the gap open, because the gap is not emptiness. The gap is potential. The gap is the space where life hasn't arrived yet, but is already on its way. It is the most powerful moment in painting, not the touch, but the instant before the touch. Now look specifically at Adam's hand, not both hands, just the one reaching toward God. It is limp, relaxed. The fingers are not stretching, not straining, not urgent. He is barely reaching. His arm rests on his knee with the weight of someone who is not yet fully alive, someone who exists but hasn't yet decided to. Compare this to God's arm, extended, active, driving forward. One figure gives everything. The other receives passively.
Michelangelo is telling you something precise about the nature of creation, and about what happens when life is offered and the receiver is not yet ready to want it. God's arm tells a completely different story. It is outstretched with full intention, muscles engaged, direction clear, urgency visible. The index finger points with absolute precision toward a man who is still half asleep. God is not waiting. God is arriving. Michelangelo gives the divine figure the body language of someone crossing a room to wake someone up. There is nothing gentle about it. There is care, but there is also impatience. The creator in this painting is not serene. He is active. He is moving. And that single extended arm changed how the Western world would picture God for the next 500 years. Look at Adam himself, the full figure. He is painted as physical perfection, classical proportions, idealized musculature, the Renaissance ideal of the human form at its peak. But here is what makes it complicated. This perfect body is completely inert. It reclines, it waits. It is a masterpiece of anatomy with no will of its own yet. Michelangelo spent years dissecting human corpses to understand the body from the inside out. And then he used that knowledge to paint a man who is all body and no soul. Yet, the perfection of the form makes the absence of life inside it more haunting, not less. This is the detail that was hidden for nearly 500 years. Look at the shapes surrounding God and the angels. The flowing red cloak, the figures arranged inside it, the overall outline of the form. In 1990, a physician named Frank Meshberger published a paper in a medical journal making the argument that this shape is an anatomically precise cross-section of a human brain. The cerebral cortex, the brainstem, the pituitary gland, all present, all accurate. Michelangelo, who dissected brains, appears to have hidden the organ of human thought inside the image of God. The implication is staggering. God does not give Adam life by touching him.
God gives Adam a mind. Look closely at the figure sheltered under God's left arm. A woman, young, watching Adam with an expression that carries foreknowledge. Who is she? Theologians and art historians have argued for centuries. Some say she is Eve, present at the moment of Adam's creation, waiting for her own. Some say she is the Virgin Mary. Some say she is divine wisdom, Sophia, the feminine aspect of God that appears throughout Old Testament scripture. Whoever she is, Michelangelo placed her at the center of the divine group, protected, watched, already there before the man who is supposedly being created for the first time. She knows something Adam doesn't. She has always known. Now look at God's face.
Really look at it. This is not the serene, distant deity of Byzantine art. This is not a symbol or an icon. This is a face. An old man's face, lined, urgent, fully human in its expression. The eyes are focused. The brow is set. There is effort here. There is will. Michelangelo painted God the way he painted men, with the full weight of physical and emotional reality. This was controversial. This was dangerous. The church wanted transcendence. Michelangelo gave them humanity. And in doing so, he made God more real to more people than any theological argument ever had. Look down at the ground Adam rests on. It is almost nothing. A shallow rise of earth, bare, minimal, with no detail. Michelangelo gives Adam the most extraordinary ceiling and the most empty ground. Because Adam is not of the earth yet. He has not stood. He has not walked. He has not chosen anything. He is between states, not quite divine, not quite mortal, not quite present. The bare ground beneath him is not finished. It is waiting. It will only become real ground, ground with weight and consequence, when Adam stands on it, when life arrives, when the finger finally, impossibly close, makes contact. Step back from the image and remember where this painting actually lives. It is on a ceiling. Michelangelo painted this lying on his back on scaffolding, 40 feet in the air, over 4 years, going partially blind from paint dripping into his eyes. He wrote a poem about it, about the agony of the position, the neck pain, the failing vision. And yet the figures he produced have a lightness, an airiness that seems impossible given the conditions. He suffered the entire time. The painting shows none of it. What we receive as viewers is pure effortlessness, the product of 4 years of invisible, agonizing physical sacrifice. One final detail before we pull back. The empty space between the two figures. God floats, Adam reclines. Between them is open sky, blue, open, belonging to neither. This space is not a background, it is the third character in the painting. It is what separates the divine from the human. It is what the pointed finger is crossing. It is what makes the almost touch so unbearable to look at, because that space, that gap, that open blue between two outstretched hands is the space that every human being alive has felt at least once. The feeling of reaching towards something that is almost within grasp. Almost, but not yet. Now see the whole thing. Michelangelo painted The Creation of Adam in 1511 as part of the Sistine Chapel ceiling commissioned by Pope Julius II. He was 35 years old. He considered himself a sculptor, not a painter. He argued against taking the commission, and then he produced what is widely considered the most significant single image in the history of Western art. The painting is deceptively simple. 2 figures, 1 gesture, a gap. But inside that simplicity, Michelangelo folded an anatomy lesson, a philosophical argument,
a hidden brain, an unnamed woman who knows everything, and a theology that the church approved without fully understanding. Because the true subject of this painting is not the creation of a body, it is the creation of a mind. God is not giving Adam breath in this image. God is giving Adam the capacity to think, to question, to reach. The brain hidden in the divine cloak is not a coincidence.
It is Michelangelo's signature on a message he spent 4 years painting on a ceiling 40 feet in the air, knowing it would outlast everything: the Pope, the Church, the politics, the arguments, the centuries. He was right. The painting is still here, the gap is still open, and the finger is still reaching. 500 years later, so are we.